Cincinnati Dems. I'm Katie Hoffman. I work with Alberta back there to pull all this together every single week. And thank you so much for you guys being such a wonderful support group for us. You know, I keep thinking back to how I felt in November of 2016. I was in just a terrible funk. I was so depressed. But coming through this and starting this in January of 2017 has been a way for me to come around and talk to people every single week that I respect, that share my opinions about things, and are ready and willing to argue with me. And I do love that. Oh, I do too. I do want to tell you on Monday, September 24th at the Bow Tie Cafe in Mount Adams, we're going to have Melody Stewart and Michael Donnelly, the two Supreme Court judge candidates. They will be there. It's hosted by the Mount Adams Dems. We were stormed in one week by Sandy Summers from the Mount Adams Dems and put an incredible Facebook post on about how fantastic we are. So that was really great. So you are all welcome. Not only are Melody and Michael going to be there, but I believe all the appellate judges and the municipal court judges. So it's going to be a judge night in the Bow Tie Cafe. And also, I mean, but we've got the jump on them, but we just don't have Supreme Court justices. But next week we will have Ginger Bach and the appellate judge candidates talking about appeals court cases that affect each and every one of us. So, so next week, be ready for that. Ginger's done a lot of work on that, and it's fascinating. You know, we've talked about this again and again and again and again. You know, you start at the top of the ballot. Sometimes it's best, folks, to start at the bottom of the ballot and go back up, because if you don't spend the time getting to know these judges, like Pat Brunn's running for school board, and read all these things at the bottom. It's really important that you take it from the bottom all the way up. So I'm going to turn this over to Alberta. Martha does have the microphone, so there's something that she wants to say as a follow-up from last week. So I'll turn. Pardon? And that's right. So okay, and so I'm turning this over to Alberta Hemsley, who is our founder. Here you go.
Woohoo!
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for the compliments on my shirt. I just want to share with you that this shirt was in my possession for 6 or 9 months before I discovered that it had a secret pocket. I wondered why it was so hard here up front, and it's because there's a hat. Good. Just want you to know, I got it in Seattle, $7. Okay, I have a couple of things that I want to share with you today. One of the things that I want to do, and Connie Pillich, I want you to see this because I need your email so I can email you stuff. I don't have your email yet. Yes. Okay, so on your paper, on your table, there should be a paper that says, am I registered to vote? And in my dream, assuming that the hurricane doesn't come through, is that I will get this out to everybody in my precinct. This is an example of what somebody could do for a precinct, a single precinct, here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And this is what I want to give to everybody in my precinct in September. And I want to give it to them in September because they can still register to vote in September. They can register to vote through Tuesday, October 9th, which is the deadline for voter registration for November 6th. On Wednesday, October 10th is the first day for early voting. And on Tuesday, of course, November 6th is when we're all going to get everybody out to vote. We are going to have a meeting that day. There may not be very many of us. Some of us are going to be at the polls. But we will have a meeting that day. And I want to just go through with you how I did this. I went to Springfield Township and I put in my name. And I went to the Board of Elections. Everybody see at the top right, BOE, HamiltonCounty.org. I went to that site, put in my name and address, and up comes the people that are going to be in my precinct. And these are the people that I got from my list of people who are going to be in Springfield Township L, which is Edgemont. Now, if you're not from Edgemont, this isn't for you. You can leave this behind and I'll give it to somebody in Edgemont. But this is what you can get from that stuff. And I wanted to show you that it is possible to get this information from that. Just taking the Democrats and putting them on a list. So this is one of the ways that I'm going to be sharing this with everybody, hopefully, if the hurricane doesn't get into my way. Yeah, it's already been there. Okay, so I'm looking forward to getting this to everybody in my precinct. If you want to have that as an example, but you could make one of those for your precinct, or just find out where your precinct is. And one of the people who can tell you where your precinct is, of course, is Caleb Fox. I don't see him here today. He said he was going to come. Okay. Anyway, you can get the address of people who are in your precinct from Caleb. And if you need his phone number, come to me. Okay, so I'm interested in that one. I also have another list. Now, this list, I don't know if you've noticed, but our list keeps changing, and that's because Katie has been working very hard on it, and what was it, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock last night, the person who is supposed to be here today, who is Pastor Leslie Jones, called and said, I can't come. And then Katie got kind of frustrated, and then things went on from there. And then Leslie Jones called up and said, we're going to have Stephanie Jones. Is Stephanie Jones here yet? Not yet. Well, we'll tell you when she gets here. But she's going to talk to us about the Ohio Democratic Party minority engagement, which should be happening today. We never know until our speaker shows up. Okay, and Leslie Jones did sign up for October 2nd, so she's going to be here. And it was interesting because I went through this thing with somebody wanting to give me street signs for AFTAB. And I said, no, I don't want any more street tabs for AFTAB, but this is what I want to do in my precinct. And I sent them a copy of my little letter here. And she said, oh, I'm going to share that with the person we have for Springfield L. And I went, what? Who else is doing Springfield L? And that's when I discovered there's somebody else working on Springfield L, which is Pastor Jones, Leslie Jones, who was supposed to speak today. And at first I thought, that's why she backed out, was because I got upset with it, and evidently that's not true. She has to be at a 2-day program that they have going on up in Columbus. So whatever it is, she has an excuse for not being here. Okay, some other announcements that I have. Very important is the North Central Democratic Club full pack spaghetti dinner. And if you need tickets now, I will sell them to you for $20, or you can get them there at the door. And it's this Thursday, September 13th, starting at 6 o'clock. Now, the wonderful thing about this evening, there are two wonderful things happening at this evening. One is my brother's spaghetti sauce, which is fabulous. Stanley makes the very best spaghetti sauce. And if you want to taste Stanley's spaghetti sauce, come to this spaghetti dinner, because it's a really good thing to do. And I'm going to be getting that big chocolate cake that Costco has, the Great American Chocolate Cake. I'm going to have one of those there for that evening. So it's going to be a really special evening, and yeah. Well, it's not the second. Stanley sauce is a meat sauce. He has 2 or 3 meats in it. I'll write out the recipe for you. Sorry about that. Oh, speaking of that, Bill Messer brought in the newspaper here, our other newspaper. There's a very nice picture of Bill here in this picture. And I brought another picture and I have it in my car for you. So I'm going to bring that City Beat this week. Very nice article about Bill, our Bill. Really nice. Okay. So spaghetti dinner, and there's another thing here. Okay, the annual Dree House event. And I gave Peter a paper about that, right? But it's there. All the information. I have the flyer. And at the Dree House, across the street from the Whitaker Elementary School, out in that area, off of Winton, at the home of Steve and Lucinda Dree House, 990 Timber Trail, Cincinnati. So they are being given by Denise. They're asking you, Denise Dree House and Richard Pillich are asking you to come, and it's a special thing at the Dree House event. Denise did not live there, but it's the home of Steve and Lucia.
You can bring your 2,500 with you.
Bring your 2,500 people with you, please. Right. If you're going to be a champion, you have to pay $2,500. If you're a sponsor, $1,000, a host, $500, supporter, $250, friend, $100. Now, I'm going to qualify as a young Dem, which is $20.18. 2018. I thought that was kind of cool. Since I'm the young at heart, I'm going to go in for as a young Democrat. Listen, I can't afford to pay everybody what they really want me to pay. Yeah. So there's this Dree House event on September 16th. That's this coming Sunday before we meet again. So this Sunday the 16th. And okay, I think we're up to Martha. Martha has money that she wants to talk to us about.
Yeah, you remember last time with Don Mooney. None of us knew how to get the amount spent by the council candidates last year. And that was dumb. Mooney didn't know, none of us knew. We thought we had to go to the Board of Elections and study all the documents and come up with some final figures. No. The Inquirer did publish it last November. Yeah, and I just wanted, I didn't get to make copies for everybody. I gave one to Alberta and to Katie, but I'll just summarize quickly. As you may recall, that John Cranley spent over $2 million, the most ever had been spent for a mayor race. Lots of payback there, right? That's one reason that we have the football soccer stadium.
Maintenance.
Yes, and Yvette Simpson running against him spent only 1/4 of what he spent. So I'll just say quickly that P.G. Sittenfeld collected more than any other council person, $500,000. Lots of payback there. He was the swing vote on the soccer stadium. Even Greg Landsman was way up there with $263,000. What I notice here, and this has to do with our meeting today, I hope, the black guys running for council didn't spend a lot of money. The 4 were elected with a lot less money than PG, for instance, about a fifth of what he spent. And so that blacks will turn out when they have good candidates. Our minority people will turn out when they have people they want to see in office, and we got to remember that all the time. So anyway, the mayor makes $131,000 a year. Council people make $65,000. So anyway, I was so happy to find this. Somebody sent it to me. We don't have to go to the Board of Elections and find all this. You can Google it. It's a November 3rd article in the Inquirer.
Thank you. Okay, Martha, can you hand that microphone over? hand the microphone over to somebody with a hand up.
Oh, the back.
Thank you.
This Saturday at the Fire Museum, the Cincinnati Educational Justice Coalition, Women's City Council, AFT, and a number of other organizations are sponsoring an education town hall. Everyone's invited. It's at 513 West Court Street. It's a really good opportunity to hear about educational issues throughout the state and locally, and how politicians can and do affect what happens in the education arena. And all of the local candidates for office have been invited. Hopefully they'll show up. It's at 10 o'clock. It's from 10 until noon this Saturday at the Fire Museum at 513 West Court.
3:15.
I'm backwards. 3, I must have the dyslexia showing up. 315 West Court.
And you know Marlena, if she were here, would say, get there and support me. I know she would do that. She would do that.
Marlena sent me a message. Tonight at 6 o'clock, there's going to be a memorial for Gabby Rodriguez, who was run down on Harrison Avenue yesterday on her way to school. A car came by and hit her with the side mirror. She fell down, and as she's getting up, a car ran her over. Hit and run. She's taken to Children's Hospital, and she later died. So she was a real advocate for getting softball at Western Hills and have a softball specific field. And it was very interesting. Before the Reds game last night, they had a moment of silence for Gabby Rodriguez for all the work that she was doing, for youth softball. So she was another mover and a shaker that we just lost. And she was a freshman.
She's going to be a freshman.
These kids are just amazing. I mean, they're out there so, but the memorial is going to be at the softball field at Western Hills High School. So anybody that wants to join us, please be there.
Okay. Want to hand that to Connie Pillich and have her say hello?
Yes, I'd love to do that. All right, what's up, Democrats?
Yes.
Are we going to win this election?
Yes.
Are we going to knock on doors? Yes. Some of you said yeah. Okay. Are we going to make sure our friends vote?
Yes.
Are we going to make sure our families vote?
Yes.
Dick says no. He's looking at me. He's giving me that look. He's just mad. He's just mad. Well, we got to vote because we have an incredible opportunity here today. We have an opportunity to show the GOP just what Hamilton County is made of. And what are we made of? Democrats. That's right. That's right. And we really do have an incredible opportunity. Over the last 10 years, what I've been involved for 12 years now, over the last 12 years, look what we've done. We've started to elect Democrats as judges. We've taken over the county commission with 2 people, and we have a chance to put the 3rd commissioner on this year. We've won the clerk of court's office. Nobody even knows we have a clerk of courts, let alone that we elect one, but we won that. And because of that, because we field candidates that are strong and qualified and interested in good government, we got rid of all those patronage jobs at the clerk of courts. We instituted, this is all AFTAP, he instituted a living wage, $16 an hour. He instituted paid family leave, as if this was a new idea. And he returned over $800,000 to the taxpayers because he's concerned about good government. This is the kind of candidate we have running for every office, up and down the entire ticket. And I know everyone hears a lot about the federal races because, it's on the news all the time. And there's that guy in the White House that captures our attention so much. But when you think about what really affects your everyday, which offices make sure the potholes on your street get filled? Which office makes sure you have enough teachers in the classroom, textbooks for kids, technology for our students, sheriffs on patrol, police officers on the beat, social workers to take care of poor children. inspectors at the fracking wells. All of that is from the state government. These are what I call the front porch issues, because they come right up to your house. They affect you and your neighbors, even when you don't know it. But we don't get much attention for those seats and those positions. That's why it's so important that you know who's running for state representative in your district. That you know that you're going to vote for Rich Cordray for governor and Steve Dettelbach for Attorney General and Kathleen Clyde for Secretary of State, Zach Space for Auditor, and of course, Rob Richardson, our own Rob Richardson for Treasurer. These are important races. The second thing about state government that I want to mention is the apportionment board. Has anybody heard of that? You are too funny. So some of us may understand that we live in pretty gerrymandered districts. If you're lucky, you live in a nice democratically gerrymandered district. If you're like where I live in Montgomery, you live in a Republican gerrymandered district. Or if you live out in Anderson with the reason Tom Brinkman can get elected is because it's a gerrymandered district and he never needs to talk to a single voter. He just sneezes and the Inquirer writes about it. But we can change this gerrymander. We can undo it. And the only way to do this is to elect Democrats to the House of Representatives and the State Senate, and to elect Democrats for Governor, Secretary of State, and Auditor. The most important races ever. Whoever wins those three races will set up the controlling majority on the apportionment board, the redistricting board. And they will draw the lines, not just for the state legislature, but likely the Congress for the next 10 years. So, do we want, this fractured, I can't even say the words because I'm too nice, in Congress that's there today? Or do we want to have some real good people like Aptab and Jill to represent us and bring good government to our country? The way you get there is by making sure we get Richard Cordray, Kathleen Clyde, and Zach Space elected. So while they don't get all the glamorous news coverage, none of them are accused of hanging out with Muammar Gaddafi when they were 6 years old. But they are the ones that we have to elect. So I want to give you a little update on the Democratic Party. Has anybody ever been to the Hamilton County Democratic Party headquarters? Oh, a lot of you have. Well, Gwen and I have now been in office for 3 whole months. And so here's some exciting news. The first floor has been repainted and recarpeted.
That's a major improvement.
We're gonna, just that. We're gonna do the second floor after November because it's just too disruptive this late. Yeah, we got the first floor done about the first week of August. And through all the disruption of emptying the rooms to put the new carpet down, we got rid of a lot of stuff. We had all these old crappy desks from some naval base from 1942. And we got rid of those and we replaced it. We got some tables donated to us. They're like 4 feet long, 2 feet wide, very flexible, very functional. We can rearrange things. So we have repurposed the space. We have repurposed and reorganized the space. And that's the first floor. The second thing we did was we cleaned. Gwen and her friend Lavinia Campbell and I went in on about 3 weekends ago, and we spent 12 hours. 12 hours cleaning the premises. We don't have a janitorial service, so we spent 12 hours cleaning. We washed the windows, we dusted the blinds, we disinfected everything. We didn't just dust, we used a Lysol solution. Lavinia washed all the windows, she scrubbed the bathrooms. I found out we had a third bathroom, I had no idea. Now I had cleaned them a couple times during the Hillary campaign, but I didn't know we had a third one. She spent a long time in that one. We scrubbed out the kitchen, we bleached the table, we disinfected the countertop, washed the dishes, put them away, washed the shelves, reorganized them, emptied everything out of the refrigerator, including the drawers and the shelves, and scrubbed. You know how you gotta do that at home every now and then. Well, you gotta do it there. Emptied out the freezer and scrubbed there. I washed the ice cube trays. They are now clean, and you can put those ice cubes in your drink. For some reason, the painter left a paintbrush in the freezer. I don't understand. It's wrapped up, so we're just going to keep it for him and hope he gets it done. So all of these things have been done. The very next day after we did our 12 hours of cleaning, so basically that's 36 hours of cleaning that we donated to the party, and then we went out for wine. And I'll be done in a second. So after that, the Ohio Democratic Party sent in their field team. So they're working in one of the rooms. And thank goodness we at least cleaned it up for them. So and they've been good. And you know what? I have not had to clean the microwave since they've arrived. I'm really proud of them. Really proud. And I found out the other day somebody actually washed dishes. So it was really exciting. I don't know who did that. The other thing I want to tell you is that we got a lot of stuff in the office. As soon as we cleaned it out, all the signs and the literature came in. We should be a repository for everybody. And whoever brought the APTAP signs, if you'll let me take them to the party, I had 3 people come in this morning looking for them, and because they're gone, they go so fast. But we have, and if you have signs, we got them. If there is literature, we got it. Just give us a call, 421-0495. 421-0495. If you're not on our email list, you need to do that. We don't bombard you unlike everybody else. We did send out an email yesterday listing a huge variety of volunteer opportunities for us. But I want to get back to, I want to talk about 2 more things. First of all, cleaning the office. We do not have a janitor. We do not have a cleaning service. We don't have any money for one. So we are recruiting people to help with housekeeping. So if you don't want to knock doors, if you don't want to make phone calls, if you don't want to work on a computer, come over and dust a table. Please, it'd be very helpful. This morning I swept the porch, I vacuumed, I dusted my area, and I washed some dishes. I'm doing it every day, but my job is not to do that. My job is to make sure we have money to pay for this campaign. So let me tell you a little bit about the financial situation of our party. And this is very serious. We have an operating budget of about $120,000, very small. We raise it through 3 events. One is our fall fundraiser, which is going to be October 5th. Number 2 is our spring fundraiser, and number 3 is Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer literally would write a $40,000 check every year for decades. But last summer, he told us it was his last donation. And unfortunately, he has kept his promise. So when I started looking at our finances in the 3rd week of July, we had $825 in the bank. Our rent is $2,400. We had to borrow money to pay August rent. So I jump-started the fundraising. I raised $5,000 very quickly, so we could pay that money back, and we have enough to pay September rent. But we've also got utilities. We've also got internet. We've also got to pay for the voter file. We have to, we've got things we got to pay for. There have been many months over the last 11 years that Caleb, our executive director, has had to hold his paycheck because there was no money in the bank for him to cash it on. So that's not appropriate for someone to have to do that. So I want to ask, I want to tell you one other thing. The Campaign for Ohio will cost us $35,000. The Campaign for Ohio is how we support the ticket in general, and we have to pay $35,000 towards the direct mail and our paid poll workers. So I've been raising money for that and to fill the Jerry Springer void. So I want to ask everyone in here, you come here every week, I'd like to ask you to not come next week. And instead of spending $10 here, send it to the party. Send it to the party.
November 6th.
Somebody says no because he doesn't want a Democratic Party to exist. Is that it?
I can send you $10 or more, but I'm not gonna give up these things. I think these are absolutely maintaining.
We can do both.
Energy.
Well, I'd appreciate it if you can afford to do both. By all means, do both. If you can't, then give us $10. Because you know what? If we want to be a strong party, if we want to turn this county solid blue like we have the potential to do, we can only do it if we have a strong party. You know why the Republicans win? They've got 5 full-time staff who each make $100,000 a year. You know what I make? 0.
Wow.
I don't make anything. All right, we got $20. Do I hear 30? But what I'm saying, I know she's here, but what I'm saying is that a lot of people, well, of course you do.
Write it down.
Oh, no, we're not here this way. So, Barbara wants to chime in, because I know Barbara's one of the people who does do this every month.
She's waiting.
Okay, is she ready?
This is a real quick
All right,
thing.
I gotta write down their
In
names.
order to help the party get that 35,000 we have to send to the state, if you're going to the state dinner, which is coming up soon, I just saw an announcement, in Columbus, if you pay it to our party and they send it in, that counts towards our 35,000. You're not paying any extra, but it helps this party pay off that 35,000 they owe the state. So if you're going to Columbus to that dinner, make sure you do it that way so that it helps the local group as well. It still comes from you, it's still got your name on it, but by sending it in that way, you end up helping the state party, the local party.
Hamilton County Democratic. Hamilton County Democratic Party. A lot of people will just go online and just donate $10 a month, $5 a month. Figuring if they can afford to get their latte or their Blue Gibbon lunch every week, they can afford to do this once a month. It really makes a huge difference. It really does. So the campaign for Ohio, as Barbara Myers was mentioning, is this from you? We got to write the names down. Sorry.
We have to track it.
Yeah, I have to report this stuff. I can't just take it home like, going to Rio. No, we're gonna put it in the campaign finance reports. But anyway, this is an incredibly generous group. I really appreciate this. Somebody else gave you. All right, and then make sure that Alberta's got your name, because I've got to keep it on our records. I'm excited that Stephanie Jones is here. We've not met. I'm Connie.
Hey, I was gonna say that.
But I haven't had the chance to meet her because I wasn't at the meeting when you were here. So she's an incredible woman who's commuting all over the place to make sure that we get our turnout this year. She's just super awesome, and I'm so thrilled that you've come to talk. Look at this great crowd. It's an awesome crowd. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, Stephanie. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. My name is Stephanie Jones. I know some of you. I'm a Cincinnatian. This? Okay, thank you.
No, I don't want to.
I am a Cincinnatian, and I lived here for a number of years, and then in the early 90s, I moved to Chicago and then Washington to work for the Clinton administration. And I've been in Washington ever since, working on the Hill. I worked for a senator and a couple of members of Congress, and worked in the nonprofit space with the National Urban League. And then most recently, I was Deputy Chief of Staff at the Department of Transportation in the Obama administration. But Cincinnati's always been home. My family's here, and I've always spent a lot of time here. So this is really exciting to get to be here working with the Ohio Democratic Party on minority turnout and engagement and registration, and working with the Hamilton County Party, working with all of you, working with the local campaigns and the statewide campaigns has been really not only exciting, but it's a great challenge too. We have a big challenge this year, and I don't have to tell you this. You all know this better than I do, but this is probably the most consequential election we've had in decades, because this election is going to help. 2016 was, of course, pivotal. This one is going to determine what path we're going to be on. whether or not we're going to continue on a path that we're on now, that is a very dangerous, scary one, or if we're going to right ourselves and get back to where we should be going as a country and as a community. And so this is very exciting, and it's really, really important. The minority turnout is going to be critical, as you know. And so I've been working with the Ohio party and the local party and the candidates to make sure that, first of all, we get everybody registered. What we're looking at is if we can increase the percentage of minority votes as part of the overall turnout just by a few points this time around, we can be successful. And so we're not just trying to do it by a few points, we're really trying to, we're laying everything we can down and making sure that we get every single person registered. And then we have to get people out to vote, because as we know, if folks aren't registered, if folks can be registered, but if they're not going to vote, it doesn't really matter. And one of the challenges that we're facing is that people don't always see why it matters. And I'm sure you encounter that. Everybody's saying, well, my vote doesn't count, it doesn't matter, nobody's listening to me. And so there are a few ways I respond to that. One way is I always point out to people, let's just look around. If your vote didn't count, people wouldn't be trying to take it away from you. It counts, and otherwise we wouldn't see the voter suppression efforts. People are trying to suppress that vote because the vote does matter, it does count, and it does make a difference. So it's really important to help people understand not just how the issues that are at play, that the issues our candidates are fighting for connect with them, but also that they know that their voice can be heard. And one of the things I'm always pointing out, one of the advantages that I have of having worked in Washington, a lot of folks think, oh, you worked in Washington, you're out of touch and people don't care. But I learned an awful lot. And one of the things I learned is that people in office actually do listen to their constituents, but they can only listen to the people they hear from. They listen to the people who vote, they listen to the people that they hear from. And once people are voting, once they become a constituency, once they're making their voices heard, they will be listened to. But we have to help our community not just understand that, but feel it. And they don't always feel that for obvious reasons. It's not that they're not paying attention, but they're not feeling that connection with the candidates and with the office holders. So we've been working with all the candidates who are really, one thing that's great is all the candidates really want to be engaged and connect and make sure that they are really reaching into our communities to connect with voters. And so we're working with them to make sure that happens and that they're able to get where they need to go, that their faces, their names, their issues are getting in front of people. And then the people are connecting the dots to see what has happened, what happens in Washington, what happens in Columbus, what happens in the state houses and in Congress and Senate connect to them. I think last week was a perfect example of that. I looked at the Kavanaugh nomination. Now a lot of people feel like, well, how does that relate to me? Well, as many of us know, federal judges are appointed by the president, they're confirmed by the Senate, and they serve for life. It's not as if this can change in a few years and we just get Kavanaugh out and replace him with someone else. If he's confirmed, he will serve for life. He's a young man, and he will be there for 30, 40 more years. Donald Trump is changing the face of the federal judiciary. And it's very scary. I worked on the Judiciary Committee, and I saw how that process works. I saw the impact that the committee, that the federal judiciary has on our communities. And many people don't really see that because the federal courts aren't really that obvious to them. But they are aware of what happens in their local courts, in common pleas court, in the courts of appeals, and it's important for people to understand that what the federal courts are doing has a tremendous impact on what state court judges are doing and can do. This affects their lives every day. I was just talking with some folks the other day from the collaborative who are, dealing with policing issues and dealing with police brutality and community issues. And all of that is directly impacted by the federal courts. And the federal courts are directly impacted by the Senate. And it matters who our senators are. And if you see last week, Senator Sherrod Brown came out in opposition to Kavanaugh and said he would vote no. Senator Rob Portman sat behind him and endorsed him during the Judiciary Committee hearings. It makes a difference. It makes a difference who is in the Senate. So we see that in so many different ways, and so I think it's really important for us to help educate voters on how these issues affect them directly, because they just don't, they're not always going to see it. So we're doing a number of things with the campaigns and with directly through the party to encourage voter registration and voter turnout. One of them is we're doing a big push with beauty shops, barber shops, and small businesses right in the minority communities. And so we're talking with beauty salon owners, barbershop owners, urging them to have registration materials in their shops so that people can register to vote right there in the shop. A lot of people are reluctant to do that, though. They don't want to be responsible for all the paperwork, or some people who are in the shops don't feel really comfortable signing up and leaving their paper with someone. So we're also sending volunteers into the shops to help register people and make sure that they're registered, that the forms are filled out correctly, that then everything gets back to the Board of Elections in a timely manner. We're also setting up opportunities for candidates to go into these places. I call them shop talks, where they can go in and talk with patrons and just talk to them about their issues. Talk to them about how they're going to respond, how they're going to improve the quality of their life once they're in office. So the barbershop, beauty shop initiative is a big thing for us. I left them in the car. I'll bring them in to show you. We have a new poster that we're putting in all the shops that have information about voting. They have, and people can actually register to vote on the poster. Smartphones and all the technology is. We're also encouraging people to check their voter registration status. And it's so easy to do. You can do it on your phone, and we're training people just to be able to talk to folks and say, I can look you up right here on the phone. Make sure first of all, make sure you're registered and make sure your address is correct. Make sure all your information is updated, because a lot of people obviously got very nervous about the Supreme Court case and the Husted case on purging. But I'm trying to urge folks to understand also that while that case was bad, everybody's familiar with that case?
No. Yeah.
Are you? I'll go over it. Okay. This is an instance where the state of Ohio came up with a purge plan, where if you had not voted in the previous 4 cycles, they would send you a letter and asking you to confirm your address and confirm your registration. If you did not respond to the letter, then didn't vote in the next 2 elections, you'd be removed from the polls. So the A. Philip Randolph Institute challenged this and said this is a violation of the Help America Vote Act, it's a violation of the Voting Rights Act. It specifically says you cannot purge people from voting for not voting, because not voting is also a right. The court did this little dance, a majority of the court, it was a 5-4, U.S. Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, ruled that, well, this is not really, they're not removing people for not voting, they're removing people, but not voting is an indicia that someone may have moved. And so then the state is, using that in, this signals that maybe someone moved, so then they're following up and asking people to confirm that they haven't moved. And if they don't confirm it, then they'll be removed. So we're not removing them because they didn't vote, we're removing them because they haven't verified that they haven't moved, which of course we know is just a dance. That the whole thing is triggered by someone not voting, and therefore, I attended the arguments in the Supreme Court on that case, and it was very interesting listening to the justices, and Justice Ginsburg and Justice Kagan were really rough on the Ohio state officials, and saying, like, that there are all sorts of reasons that people may not vote. There are all sorts of reasons that they may not return this letter, and given the history of voter suppression, you should know that this is really just a subterfuge. But of course, the majority, there was a very slim majority, which unfortunately, if Kavanaugh gets on, it won't be so slim anymore. A slim majority ruled that it was fine. So this naturally freaked people out. Like, oh my goodness, there's going to be these purges, people are going to be purged off the voting rolls. But in reality, first of all, no one is being purged right now. But also, it's within our power not to be purged. I mean, it's bad, but the purge is triggered by, oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, stand over here. The purge is triggered, because the purge is triggered by a failure to vote over a period of time, the important thing is for people to vote. Make sure you vote. And if you are worried that you're in danger of being purged, or if you've been purged, you can always check. And so go, as I said, go online, check to see if your registration is there. If you're not there, there's still time to get registered. So, excuse me?
Only a couple of weeks?
There's only a few weeks. There's only a few weeks, but there's still time. And so it's not insurmountable. They're putting up these obstacles, but we have to help people understand that these obstacles are not insurmountable. People have gone through much more in the past to get to vote. And so don't be discouraged. Just take a little extra effort. It's not fair. We shouldn't have to take this extra effort, but people should do that. So that's one of the things we're encouraging people to do. We're also working with the churches throughout the city to do voter registration, to do voter education with their congregations, to do September 23rd, in a couple of weeks, we're doing Souls on the Voter Rolls, which is a big initiative with many churches throughout the city, encouraging them to do a big voter registration drive in their church, to invite candidates to come and meet with their congregations. Candidates from all over the state are going to be heading up, all attending church in the communities that Sunday, and also to help get ready to get people out to vote. And so to help people develop a voting plan. Like, what is your plan? Are you planning to vote on election day at the poll? Are you planning to early vote? Are you planning to do absentee ballot? We want everyone to have a plan. And we're really pushing early voting because we find that is the most effective way to make sure people can get their vote counted, and that they can get to that they actually are able to vote. So there's Souls on the Voter Rolls. We're also doing what we're calling Drop the Vote with high school students. And so elected officials from around the city are partnering with local high schools and to do civic engagement activity, to work with their government classes to get high school seniors registered to vote who are eligible to vote by election day. And then on October 16th, there's going to be a big push for everyone the high school students to go out and vote. There'll be buses around the city for high school students to go down to the Board of Elections and vote on that day. So those are just a few examples of some of the things that we're doing. We're also going to have a bus tour. The Ohio Democratic Party has leased a great bus that's wrapped with, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know what it looks like, but I hear it's going to be awesome. That will be going around the state. Candidates will often be on the bus. We'll be using the bus for visibility. So the bus will be in Cincinnati at a few points between now and the election. And so it's really important now that between now and October 9th that we're getting folks registered. That is our big priority. So we need as much help as we can get. We need volunteers. We need a lot of this is being run out of Aftab Puraval's office, his campaign headquarters, because he's got a great team. Pastor Leslie Jones, who many of you know, who was going to speak today, and she had to be in Columbus today, so I'm filling in for her. She's leading much of that effort, and so I encourage all of you to volunteer, help get folks registered, get your folks to help register. We need as many volunteers as possible. We just opened an additional campaign headquarters, a unified campaign headquarters in Bond Hill, at 5020 Bond Hill. I was told people it's right next to Hook's Fish, which is kind of dangerous because I love Hook's Fish. Oh boy. But all the campaigns are working. This was Cedric Denson's headquarters that he's generously opened up for. So AVTAB's using it as one of his primary headquarters, and all the other candidates can also work out of there, can stage there, we have materials and information for all the candidates, and we want to make sure that this is a unified effort, and so that everyone's working together, that we all know what everybody else is doing. We're keeping like for example, we have a joint calendar, so we know who's going to be where, so we can make sure we're coordinating everybody's activity. So for maximum effectiveness, we've got some great events coming up, including the NAACP Freedom Fund Dinner, where Kamala Harris is going to be speaking. So that's got everybody excited. The NAACP is also doing some candidate forums. We're encouraging other organizations to do those forums as well, so that people can have a little bit more time to talk about the issues, learn about the issues, learn what the candidates are doing. So we're really excited about all the work we're doing, and I want to encourage all of you to, to just help us with this big push. I know you all know better than anybody how important this vote is, and we've seen, in Alabama and Georgia and around the country how important the minority vote is, and how that can make the difference. Yeah.
I was wondering if you could give us the address and/or the phone number of the Bond Hill office?
Yeah. It's at 5020 Reading Road. I don't have the number for the headquarters, but I have, I'm going to give you Leslie's number. Pastor Leslie, do you all know Pastor Leslie? She's a force of nature, so when you meet her, you will never forget her. But she's amazing, and so her number is 513-549-4041.
Thank you.
It's right around the corner from California and the restaurants around here.
Yeah.
Across from the library, old library.
Cross Street is, yeah.
Tennessee. No, Redmond City, California.
Yeah, it's past Tennessee.
Past Tennessee.
Yeah. Like I said, Hooks is just it's across from Richie's. Of course, all the food places are the places I'm,
And if you look at the AVCAB sign in the front yard,
Yeah.
as well as the Cedric Denson sign all across the side of the building, it looks like a four-family. It doesn't really look like an office, but there's lots of signage in front.
You can't miss the signage. Yeah. And it's nice. It feels like one of those like old school campaign headquarters. And so so we just we're excited. We think that we have such a great chance to take back the House, and it's looking better and better for the possibility of taking back the Senate. The state and local races look great. We've got incredible candidates who are dynamic and exciting. Congressional candidates, Jill Schiller and Avtab Hurribal are really just top notch and are, I think, setting folks on fire. So I just want to urge everyone to join this effort. I know you're already way deep in the vineyards on this, but if you can just pitch it a little bit more and help push this our minority engagement effort, it's going to make a huge difference. Yeah, and then.
I was working with the political action chair of the. I'm working with the FL-CIO during this campaign cycle, and I was talking to our Ohio Federation of Teachers political action chair yesterday morning. I'm on a conference call every Monday, and he was talking about numbers that are coming in. And Kathleen Clyde and Steve and Zach Space, their numbers are up close to 50. But Rob Richardson's numbers were at 38. What can we do to help Rob?
I am so glad you asked that question because, first of all, Rob is a fantastic candidate. And, hello? But he's also had a lot of his attention in northern Ohio. So he's had to spend a lot of time in northern Ohio. He's from here. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. So he's from this area. But
Just turn that one off. Turn that one off.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Okay, thanks. So he's from this area, but he's having to spend a lot of time in northern Ohio and northern and central Ohio, with visibility, getting people to know him there and raising money, which has been critical. So I think one way we can help him here is to act as surrogates, to help boost his visibility here while he's toiling away in other parts of the state and just can't be here. But he does have some advantage here because there's name recognition, people know him. But if we can help build him up here while he's having to be in other parts of the state, I think that would be tremendously helpful. And I know sometimes there's pushback. People say, we haven't seen him, or make sure people know that if they're not seeing him, it's not because he's not doing what he's supposed to do. He is working his tail off. But Ohio is a big state, and he's having, there's a lot of ground he has to cover, so we can do him, and he's going to be, I think as we get closer to the election, he's going to be here a lot more. We're going to be seeing a lot more of him. But in the meantime, I think you all can be really helpful in just getting his name out there, making sure you're talking to people about him, putting up his signs, and just doing everything you can to increase his visibility here.
And make sure everybody knows that the state treasurer will be appointing someone to the state teachers retirement board. So everybody who's a retired teacher, it's very important that we have friendly faces on that board, because right now we have no cost of living increases for the next 5 years.
And see, and that's a great point, and I'm glad you said that, because that's just the kind of nuts and bolts information that people need, because that takes it from the abstract right down to this is how it's going to affect you, and people get that. So thank you.
Is there a reason why the retired teachers don't have dental insurance?
That's a different.
Teachers' retirement plan is not providing dental insurance.
I don't know.
I never did hear them say that.
The state teachers' retirement program, overall terms of the provisions do not provide dental insurance for retired teachers.
No insurance.
They pay for it on a power pension.
Excuse me, I have a question.
One second, there have been
Yeah,
hands up.
she's been waiting a long time, and then we'll go to you.
So I just want to clarify about voter registration. Do you mean that I can take my cell phone to the supermarket, find an unregistered or questionably registered voter, and with my cell phone register that voter with the Board of Education?
I mean, Board of Elections.
I mean the Board.
No,
Yes.
you can register online. People can register online. So
I can use my phone
you could
to
help them.
register Joe
Right.
Blow
Mhm.
with the Board of
They'd have
Education.
to put their information in, of course,
Yeah,
but yes.
yeah,
mhm.
okay, that's important.
But people can register online.
You can also use this, the Ohio Equity Coalition is another website that you can go to verify, but also if they have a state ID or a driver's license, anybody can register and change anything on it through this coalition. This is Michelle Obama is doing this nationally.
Yeah, there is no shortage of ways that people can register, and that's why, we just need to keep pushing it and making sure that people know that it may be a little harder than it should be, but it's certainly not impossible. There are many ways to do it. Hold on 1 second.
My wife and I have been out doing gerrymandering stuff and voter registration and so on. But people have asked me why they should vote Democratic. And I feel I ought to have an answer that takes less than 90 seconds. I know exactly why people voted for Trump or the GOP, because they were xenophobic, etc., etc., etc. I know exactly that. But it's so much more difficult. What can I say to people that takes a minute or a little longer why they should vote Democratic, which is not just to get Trump out? I mean, I want something positive to tell them that I can, if you like, cut in stone, not just better jobs for everyone, better dental insurance for everyone. I just want to tell them, this is why. Thank you.
Not sandstone.
Did you have a response? Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at your back. But
Here.
here, okay, hi Peter.
Leslie Jones spoke at one of the Tuesday
I'm
evenings.
sorry, were you responding to this gentleman?
Yes, I
Okay,
am
okay,
actually.
perfect, okay.
Because I asked her specifically, what sorts of commitments do candidates need to make to relieve the widespread perception among African Americans that their vote is taken for granted? And right away, she stressed the justice system, the police system, the prison system. And I think it's very important. When I've been canvassing, I've been stressing the judges, which again, most 50% of the people who voted for Hillary didn't bother to vote for judges. So I think it's extremely important to stress the justice system and how important the judges are as part of the overall ticket that is usually ignored.
Yeah, that is a particularly important issue. And I think, and also in answer to your question, I think it's hard to answer that question without knowing who the person is that you're talking to and what they care about. And that's what I usually do. I usually find out, like, well, what do you care about? What are your interests? Because otherwise we're just sloganeering. And that works, that worked really well for Trump in 2016. Just, make America great doesn't mean anything, but just, it's a blanket slogan. Exactly. Drain the swamp, make America great. And one of the challenges we have as Democrats is we are much more nuanced, because
That's a problem.
we think a lot more, and our issues are more complicated. And also, frankly, it's really easier to just throw out some BS in one sentence. It's much harder to give someone a good answer that really responds to their needs in one sentence. And so that's always a challenge that we have as Democrats. And so, but what I always try to do is, first of all, find out, like, well, what do you care about? What issues are, it may be the justice system, it may be the economy, it may be healthcare, and then, answer them specifically about the issue that they're interested in. But it takes a little bit more work, and that's one reason we have the challenges.
Questions back here?
It's not a question, but it's a response to that. I think anyone who cares about health insurance at an affordable rate needs to really think about the difference between the Republican approach, which is no health care for anybody unless they get it from their employee, and the Democrat approach, which is work to find a solution to this complicated problem. And if that leads to discussion, then that's an indication the person cares about it. But there's other things, the environment. The Republican Party has been in denial and in the control of oil and coal, and has spent decades fighting against the reality of science, which is that global warming is affecting the future of our families, our children, in ways that are unprecedented. It's a very scary and dangerous thing for the future to continue to ignore the damage being done to our environment. Those are two huge differences that I can think of, along with the criminal justice system, which has multiplied exponentially in the last 20, 30 years, because private prisons are benefiting, are profiting at the expense of a lot of mentally ill people. We're as a country, we should be ashamed of the way we handle prisoners. Nobody in the world handles prisoners, mentally ill and disadvantaged people the way we do. We criminalize behavior in schools, and you know, it's ridiculous. So there's a lot you can say, and of course, that might be more than 90 minutes, but maybe in here, this is something we could spend some time thinking about how to come up with some statements that encompass this in a meaneful,
This is very,
catchy
very
way.
useful, because 30 years ago, when I came from my shithole country, it was a country that had national health insurance. So, I can say, you know, this is an answer I wanted. I wanted something I could work with. I can say, health insurance. And they say, yeah, but it doesn't work. I've lived in 3 countries that had national health. Malaysia, the Netherlands, and Britain. It works. I know it does. So that's the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
Medicare for everybody. We're over time, so I'm going to ask Alberta. There's at least 3 hands up. Should we keep going?
I think what we need to do is to finish now, and if you'll stay for a few minutes,
All
come up.
right. This hand's been up longer than anyone.
Yeah, this is actually a statement because
So good to see you,
it's
by the way.
something, oh, thank you, it's good to see you too. We worked together in '92 on the very first Clinton campaign, before anybody knew who he was. No one cared, but it was like February before the primaries.
Kids putting on a show in the barn.
That's
Yeah.
about it, that's about it. Anyhow, I wanted to say, as it relates to registration, if people think they're registered, ask them, did they receive from John Husted an application for an absentee ballot? If they received it, they're registered. If they did not receive it, then they need to go and register immediately, because he sent one to every registered voter. But if you had already been purged for whatever reason, you did not get one. So that's a question.
Or it
Ask
could be
them.
that they're registered and they have the wrong address.
And they have,
so
either
need to
way,
check.
they
Right.
need to
That's a
go
good-
in
that's a
and
good
check
flag.
that,
Right.
because they're either at the wrong address or they've already been purged, and so they need to, and they only have to like October 6th or 7th or something.
Yeah, nice.
And I'll just mention, Bernie had a good answer for that question. Talk to them about their pocketbook. Economics motivates almost every voter.
99% of us.
99%.
Welcome to America.
Well, thank you everyone very much for your attention and your patience.
Folks, we have done it again. We have spent a good hour with the Democrats, finished the food, enjoy each other's company, and have a good time today. You have an announcement. More announcement.
Just a quick announcement. I'm reporting on behalf of Dick and Karen Galloway, who are involved in both Move to Amend and also American Promise. Dick has not been here for a while because he's dealing with a serious illness, and so we ask for your thoughts and prayers for him. But we wanted you to know that he is going to be, along with some other people, it could be Deborah, it could be me, it could be Richard Asimus, are going to be teaching at an OLLI course at Adath, Israel, starting September 20th. It's an 8-week course. I'm going to pass out flyers for everybody. And it's all about the influence of big money in politics. Furthermore, this coming Sunday, there is going to be our second public meeting for the combined efforts of Move to Amend and American Promise at the First Unitarian Church at 536 Linton. That'll be at 2 o'clock. And we are trying to continue our efforts. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to help you. One other note, this weekend, if Connie indicated how bad Montgomery is in terms of the politics, my house is going to be open all day Saturday from 10 to 7 o'clock. You can spend 1 hour or 9 hours. We're doing a staging area there in Montgomery. So you're welcome. If you need the address, speak to me after the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming. Thank you.
You can't just show up without registering for OLLI. You have to have a badge to get it.